The modern promise of global connectivity is that you should never have to think about it. Physical SIM cards are a thing of the past, and downloading a data plan straight to your phone's processor means traveling across borders without dropping a signal. For that kind of access, KnowRoaming is often the first stop. They cover over 200 countries, and their per-gigabyte pricing is highly competitive. But using KnowRoaming for more than a single phone means hitting a massive structural wall. KnowRoaming's architecture relies entirely on a strict 1-to-1 ratio, one email tied to one device. This flowchart shows how perfectly that works in isolation. For a solo traveler, the app handles your profile flawlessly. But add a secondary device, regional plans, or a team, and the system fractures. The app can't link separate users together. The dilemma is that KnowRoaming completely lacks a native multi-account administrative dashboard. There is no central hub to oversee these fractured profiles. To get KnowRoaming's cheap data for your team, you must build your own DIY management stack. Let's look at exactly what that takes, and when that stack becomes too heavy to carry. The first hurdle you hit in this DIY stack is simply generating the accounts. Without a unified portal, you can't just click Add User. You have to deploy the Account Setup workaround. This means setting up distinct employee emails, or if you're managing this yourself, using a string of email aliases, like adding a plus sign and a region name to your primary address, to trick the system into creating separate profiles. The immediate trade-off is permanently fragmented login credentials. You destroy any ability to see a centralized view of how much data your team is using. This chart plots our evaluation framework, weighing administrative burden against operational value. The account setup workaround lands in the high-friction, low-impact quadrant. It creates a mess, but it's functionally necessary just to get out of the gate. Once the accounts exist, you run straight into the second hurdle, managing the money and keeping those isolated accounts funded. To handle this, you use the billing and renewal hack. You link a single corporate credit card across all the isolated accounts. Then, because there is no central auto-renew feature, you set strict calendar reminders 48 hours before every individual plan expires. The trade-off here is severe. If you miss a single manual calendar alert, the plan expires. Your employee or field device abruptly drops off the network, losing all connectivity until you realize what happened and log back in. On our framework, this manual tracking system plots as an unreliable but unavoidable chore. You are trading software automation for sheer willpower. Relying on email aliases and manual calendar reminders transfers the entire burden of proactive monitoring onto you. You turn connectivity into a daily administrative task. Navigating those daily chores introduces serious digital friction. Managing multiple KnowRoaming accounts in a standard web browser causes cookies from one tab to overlap with the next, forcing frustrating, continuous logouts. To solve this, you need session management. This involves using a browser isolation tool, like Sendwin, to sandbox each individual tab so the cookies never cross paths. Operationally, this allows an administrator to keep 5 different employee eSIM dashboards open simultaneously. You can jump between them, check data usage, and process top-ups without ever getting booted out. The obvious trade-off is that you are now paying for and integrating a third-party SaaS tool purely to bypass a missing feature in KnowRoaming. But on our framework, deploying a session isolator is a highly effective shortcut. It removes a massive headache for very little effort. So why go through all this trouble? The financial motivation behind this entire DIY stack comes down to the geographic data strategy. While KnowRoaming offers massive global plans, purchasing a hyper-specific regional plan, say 5 gigabytes locked to Europe instead of the whole world, yields a massive 40 to 60% reduction in cost. To capture those savings, the administrator must manually match specific regional plans to the exact, constantly shifting travel itineraries of every device in the field. This strategy is the ultimate financial payoff. It requires heavy logistical lifting, but it aggressively drives down your monthly connectivity bill. The reality is that building this DIY management stack is only worth the effort if the sheer financial savings of those localized regional plans outweigh the hours you spend juggling isolated browser tabs and calendar alerts. This matrix breaks down the final verdict. Surviving KnowRoaming multi-account management requires a strict bring-your-own-dashboard mentality, and its viability depends entirely on the size of your fleet. First, look at the Solo Optimizer. This is an individual juggling a primary phone, a backup device, or hopping between distinct regions. For this user, the DIY setup is highly viable. At an individual level, the massive cost savings of localized plans easily justify the minor annoyance of occasionally logging into 2 different email aliases. Next is the small team manager, responsible for keeping 1 to 10 field employees connected on the road. This sits in a cautious middle ground. This scale only survives if the manager rigorously utilizes a session isolator to handle the separate accounts and enforces weekly check-ins from the team to prevent sudden data outages. It works, but it takes constant supervision. Finally, we have the enterprise fleet manager, trying to scale past 10 deployments. Here, the setup is a critical failure. At an enterprise scale, a DIY stack held together by calendar alerts and email aliases will inevitably collapse. The sheer volume of manual updates guarantees unacceptable operational downtime for your staff. If you manage a large fleet, you should abandon consumer pricing models entirely. Pay the premium for enterprise providers like TruePhone that offer native business portals, centralized billing, and automated provisioning out of the box. Sustainable multi-account management requires choosing an ecosystem that aligns with your specific administrative capacity, even if it means looking past the provider with the lowest sticker price on the market.